The NBA trade deadline is approaching, but the most talked about story in the league right now is the future of Nets All-Star James Harden, who is currently on the market. Brooklyn went all in last season by negotiating a huge trade with the Houston Rockets for Harden, but it appears that the 32-year-old guard is having second thoughts about choosing the Nets as his desired transfer destination. Despite the fact that the Nets are unlikely to pursue a trade for James Harden before the trade deadline this year, his long-term future in Brooklyn is in serious doubt after various rumors surfaced that he was unhappy in Brooklyn. It is also believed that Harden is interested in the thought of being a free agent, especially because he has never experienced free agency before. Having spent the previous 3 seasons with the Oklahoma City Thunder, Harden signed a 5-year, $78 million contract with the Houston Rockets. Near the end of his contract, Harden agreed to a new 4-year Supermax deal that guaranteed him $228 million through the 2022-2023 season, the same contract that he's currently on with the Brooklyn Nets. It was something that James Harden was prepared to give up his game for, especially if it meant that they were competing for a title. However, since Harden emerged on the scene last season, this all-star trio has scarcely shared the court with one another. Because they've only played in 16 games together, we haven't seen much of the Nets' Big Three, and now with Kevin Durant injured and Kyrie Irving unable to participate in home games due to his ineligible status, things could be worse in Brooklyn. The latest rumors pertaining to James Harden and the Brooklyn Nets, courtesy of Bleacher Report, is that the former league MVP remains invested in the Nets this season and their pursuit of a title, but Harden has expressed his interest in exploring other options outside of Brooklyn this summer. Having a $47 million player option for the 2022-2023 season, James Harden seems like he's set to opt out of his contract, making him an unrestricted free agent for the first time in his career. The Brooklyn Nets front management obviously wants to keep Harden for the long haul, but the Philadelphia 76ers have switched their attention to pursuing James Harden at the moment as a long-term solution. The Philadelphia 76ers are continuing to discuss moves involving All-Star Ben Simmons in the lead-up to the NBA trade deadline, but there hasn't been much progress in those discussions during the last several months. It appears very likely that they'll be holding on to Ben Simmons through the trade deadline this year, setting up the possibility of a major move in the offseason. So is a Harden for Simmons swap in the cards for us? Due to his close relationship with 76ers president of basketball operations Daryl Morey, James Harden is at the top of the 76ers wish list. The 76ers' desire to sign Harden makes perfect sense. Morey joined the Houston Rockets as a general manager in 2007, and he was important in the team's purchase of James Harden from the Oklahoma City Thunder. The two had a strong working connection throughout their time together in the Rockets' front office. In Houston, Daryl Morey was always willing to put James Harden and his needs first, and he could be willing to do the exact same with him in Philadelphia, where he would be paired with Joel Embiid. Despite the fact that the pick-and-roll settings are an extremely significant aspect of James Harden's game, he's never actually played with an all-star big man in his whole career. When it came to big men in Houston, Clint Capella was the greatest that he had ever played alongside, but Joel Embiid is an entirely different animal. While this pair alone has the potential to cause havoc in the Eastern Conference for many years to come, the important question is whether or not the 76ers will be able to pull it off with the acquisition of James Harden. The 76ers would be unable to sign James Harden because of their hefty tax burden, but a sign and trade with Brooklyn is definitely on the table. This is particularly true if they manage to keep Ben Simmons and have him agree to match Harden's deal in a trade during the upcoming free agency period. The performance of the Nets the rest of this season is one of the many elements that could influence this potential huge acquisition, but the concept of Harden leaving Brooklyn for Philadelphia is genuine and believable considering the current circumstances. Well guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to Swish Position, and hit that notification bell so that you never miss a video. We'll see you guys next time.